Hello everyone, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Phenomenal Views. I'm your host, Nick Smith, and I have watched Godzilla today. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, I got to see Godzilla. Godzilla was a good film. It wasn't great. It was good. It was kind of in between. It is one of those films I could watch again. I especially suggest you go buy this film on Blu-ray. Now, a couple things that does suck about this movie is Godzilla is not in this movie very much. He's in the film, I'd say maybe 3 times you see him standing up, and there's a lot of times you see him underwater. Well, his back anyway. But Godzilla starts out with them explaining how Godzilla was created and how they tried to kill him. And that sets up for the movie. And it starts off with showing how Godzilla was created and all that. It shows that these people going down to this big place with this doctor from Japan, and this is in the Philippines. They find this cave or something, and they find this humongous skeleton, which I thought was the first skeleton of Godzilla, and it's not. It's a skeleton of something else. As far as I know, they actually don't explain that, or at least I don't remember anyway. But but they find this they find basically like this egg sac thing, and they find another one that's got something in it and one that's empty. And so they take the one, or they build something, or they build this area around this thing, and then it goes by years later, it goes to this family who the dad is played by the guy who played the dad in Malcolm in the Middle. He does a great job in this film. He plays the smart professor, the smart doctor guy who knows a lot about radiation and everything. Him and his wife are a team. They work together. And so he tells her to go down below to where they'll go check out some stuff, and they put on a radiation suit. Well, all of a sudden, this humongous earthquake goes off, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, that's Godzilla. But you don't see it. Now, this movie does a little bit of tell, don't show. Like in Friday the 13th, in the original, a counselor gets killed. You know what happens, you just don't see it. And so they did that quite a lot in this film, actually. So this gigantic earthquake comes up, and then all of a sudden this humongous cloud of radiation is coming towards. And the guy's like, is the door automatic? Is the door on autopilot or auto drive or whatever? And he's like, yes, it is. And he's like, come on, you can get here. Come on, honey, get through here. And he's like, you just gotta run. You just gotta run. And they have a son. That rhymes, son, run. But she's like, take care of our son. You've got to close the door. So he closes the door. But before he leaves her to die because he didn't have a choice, he's looking at her between this little glass door thing, and all of a sudden the door's closed. And then it goes to 15 years later with his son leaving the military, coming home to a wife and his own kid, and then we get his dad has been arrested in Japan, so he has to once again go to Japan, or he has to go to Japan to pick up his dad. And when he brings his dad home, he's like, I've got to go back to the house. And he's basically obsessed with this, like John Wester in Supernatural. When John Winchester's wife died, he became obsessed with finding and killing the demon. So they kind of put him in that role. He's obsessed with what happened. He wants to know the truth. He wants to know what killed his wife. And the son's like, Dad, why don't you just let her go? And he's like, because, son, I'm the one who sent her down there. He blames himself for her death, even though he didn't technically cause it, but he sent her down there, and so he blames himself. So he won't forgive himself until he figures out what's going on. And so they do go to the house eventually, and there's no radiation in this place anymore. They have like a radiation scanner thing, and there's no radiation anymore. So they go to the house, and they find these computer disks that the dad must have made or something before or after. It was what he was studying. And so then all of a sudden things start happening again. They keep getting these spikes of radiation, and something's happening. And they take him and his son to this place where there's this gigantic egg thing. And I'm thinking, oh man, that is Godzilla. That has got to be Godzilla. But Unfortunately, it's not Godzilla, but we do get that scene with the dad where he's like, you were lying because you were hiding something out there, and it is going to send us back to the Stone Age! We get that he did such a good job. This relationship that he has with him and his son, even though it's for a short time, they build really well. I truly think that they build really well. And so the creature breaks out, and by the way, when this creature first appeared, I was like, is this going to be Godzilla or Rodan? And turns out it was neither. Rodan is not in this film. They do tease Rodan twice. They tease in the trailers, they tease with the airplanes falling out of the sky, and a big gigantic bird thing falling in the water. They do tease Rodan twice. And, you know, there's a humongous accident, and the dad unfortunately doesn't make it, so his son calls his wife, and he's like, hey, look, I'm getting on a plane back to Hawaii, I'll be there soon. Yeah. So then they find out that the dad had made a system to where he could talk to something. But it was like, you know, talking like on like this, you know, hey, what's up, how are you? He was like, basically, he found a way to like like there were spikes, and like it was communication, like something like these spikes of radiation were ways of communication, and there was two of them. There was this one creature, and there was another one that they thought was Godzilla. Or they found out that there's three. There's another one. There's the creature, which I don't even know what this creature's called, really, to be honest with you. I can't really describe it, but there's this one, and then there's another one, and then there's the third one. The middle one is Godzilla. Now, they said that they decided they called him Godzilla, like they gave him the name Godzilla when he first struck. And like they show pictures of him and stuff like that. And so then like they're trying to call Godzilla, and I was thinking, oh, okay, they're calling Godzilla so he can come and he can take these guys out. Oh, what a boss. But no, turns out they're not. What they are doing is they are accidentally calling another creature, and Godzilla just happens to be listening. So it's like whales, I guess, and like how like they do frequencies and stuff like that, or they like make noises or whatever. Godzilla must have heard it, and Godzilla's arrival, he comes out of the water like a boss. I was like, there he is, there he is, there he is. And then when he came out of the water, I was like, you better roar. You are the king of the monsters. You are gonna roar. And then he does. And every time he roared, I was like, ah! So Godzilla comes out, and like water causes all the destruction. And in the meantime, we do swap back and forth to the former military guy and his wife and kid. And his wife works at the hospital. So the second creature attacks when he's getting on a plane, on a bus to get to his plane, and it gets attacked by the second creature, and it's the same like creature except there's a female and there's a male, and they're gonna procreate. So the scientist, the guy who was talking about Godzilla earlier, he's like, Godzilla can take them out. We got to let them fight. But they're like, if we let them fight, they basically say if we let them fight, they could take out millions of more lives. Instead, what they decided to do is like, look, we're gonna get some warheads that would basically recreate the situation that created Godzilla, but just make it a lot more bigger and stuff. And so they're like, this is much more stronger, and it should kill them. But they're like, these things have been feeding on radiation like all of their lives, and they're like, yeah. But I'm guessing that they were thinking if we give them more radiation, they'll overpower and explode, like how they do in a lot of things, like give someone more power and then they'll eventually overbust or combust or whatever. But they do show a lot of destruction. A lot of cities get destroyed. Japan gets destroyed. Actually, I think only two. No, never mind. Two cities get destroyed. Japan and San Francisco. For once, they decided to leave New York alone. I bet you everyone in New York was like, thank you, Lord Jesus. Thank you. Let the people in San Francisco suffer for a while. We got hit with the Avengers, Godzilla 1999, and Transformers Dark of the Moon. We deserve a break. So we get a lot of more things about like how the military is like, look, we're going to do this to take all three of them out. Even though they are like, Godzilla is basically the good guy. He's not what the trailers build him up to be. The trailers build him up to be the creature that's causing all this destruction, when in fact, it's the two other creatures. And so the main character, the guy who's in the army, he ends up getting back into the army to help take down both these creatures. And like, we get a lot of cool stuff like them walking in at night on a bridge, and they have to stay really quiet, and it is really intense. Because like they lay on their backs on the train tracks like this, and they're trying to stay quiet. But unfortunately, the train comes, and it's on fire, and then a lot of the crap breaks loose, and then the fight. They do so many teases of Godzilla fighting, but we only get like 2 scenes of fighting, basically. They do a lot of, like, yeah, oh, yo. I was like, when they shown that Godzilla was getting ready to fight, I was like, oh yeah, wait, what? No! But when the final fight came on with Godzilla and the other 2 creatures, I thought of this. I was like, well, it's time for the fight. But there's only one way that this can be won, and this is what I thought. The King of Monsters battles these 2 creatures. It can only be settled in one way.
The fate of the universe will be decided as it should be.
In... That's right. King of Monsters versus 2 creatures. I was thinking Mortal Kombat. I was really thinking Mortal Kombat, and we get a really good fight, like Godzilla using his tail, Godzilla biting them, but they do beat the crap out of Godzilla. I was like, no, you're the King of Monsters, you can't die! But like the destruction we get is awesome. Godzilla's tail, how he took out the first one, he used his tail and like freaking smashed it into a building. I was like a boss. But then the lady creature, they find out that the lady creature actually already has eggs. They find the nest. So the main character decides to light the thing up with gasoline or sewage or whatever, and kaboom. And that really kind of makes Mommy kind of angry. She's like, ah! Ah! And then she sees him. I was like, oh, you're screwed. But then, I was like, when Godzilla was getting his butt beat, I was like, come on, use your atomic breath, they're hotheads! And just when it looked like things were gonna get bad, his tail lit up, his spines lit up, and then we got the... Sorry if that was too graphic. But yes, when the atomic breath happened, I was like, Godzilla comes out of the water twice. The second time is when everyone's trying to evacuate the city and they're trying to load up to help Godzilla, basically. And the second time, he comes on the bridge. When he comes out on the bridge, I was like, ah! And then he roared. I went, ah! With the very first time I seen Godzilla, I had a nerd attack. I was like, ah! But the final blow to the female, when Godzilla gets beaten up pretty bad, actually. When he takes out the first creature, that building that he slammed it into, the building falls onto him. And I was like, no, Godzilla can survive that! Which he can, because, you know, he's the King of Monsters. And the guy who took out the babies, the creature sees it, and he's on a boat. And he has this nuclear bomb. But, all of a sudden, right when she's getting ready to kill him, all of a sudden, here comes Godzilla, he bites it, and then he opens its mouth, and then atomic breaths down its body. I was like, oh my gosh, that is awesome. That was like Goku's Kamehameha just in the mouth. Kamehameha! Down the creature's throat. The atomic breath went out of his throat and everything. I was like, you are the King of Monsters! But then, after taking a beating, Godzilla falls, and I was like, no, Godzilla, you can't die! You can't die, Godzilla, not you. You can't die. I really thought that they were going to kill Godzilla off, which they didn't, which was great. The film ends with the military picking up the guy and taking him into a helicopter, and then everyone comes around the damaged city, and, like, there's, like, news reports saying, like, thousands are missing and stuff. And, like, the scientist who seen Godzilla laying there, you know, thought he was dead. I was like, no, he can't be dead. And then all of a sudden he started moving. I was like, yeah, you are the King of Monsters for a reason. And then the movie ends with him going to the water and him doing his famous... It made the film even more awesome when he did it. The final time, the first time, and the second time. But even more awesome the second time. When he appears in the city, he does the roar. He's like, I'm Godzilla! He's like, when he's roaring, I bet he was thinking, I'm Godzilla, you morons! So yeah, the fight between the two creatures was awesome. A lot of buildings destroyed, a lot of damage, a lot of destruction. The film ends with Godzilla going back into the water. So basically, I actually didn't mind this film. I thought this was a very good film. If they make a sequel, I don't know what they're going to do. But this film isn't anything like what we got last summer. But I honestly didn't think it was that bad. Yeah, Godzilla really isn't in it, but that's kind of the point, because in the original, Godzilla wasn't in most of it, but he was in most of it at the end, because you just heard of all the destruction that was caused. You didn't see him until the middle of the movie, and when a lot of my friends, including my friend George, who honestly watches a lot of my videos, and I get by because of his help. Thanks, man. But he talked about how he didn't like it and how Godzilla's hardly in it. I was like, well, maybe that's a little bit of the point. Maybe the fact that he's not in it as much builds it up to even more, and when he shows up for the first time, it's totally worth it. But I would honestly recommend watching this film. Give your own opinion on it, but I honestly don't think it's that bad of a film. In fact, I would give it maybe a B to a B minus, tops. B minus probably tops. Not actually a B, because B minus comes first. But that's, you get the point. But I honestly I recommend this film if you are a Godzilla film. If you are a Godzilla fan, you might like it, you might not like it. But I thought it was good, much better than the 1999 movie we got with Matthew Broderick. But guys, I strongly recommend that you watch this film for yourselves. I definitely recommend when it comes out in Blu-ray to buy it. In the description box, I will be putting clips of things that they have on YouTube in the movie. So go down to the description box. Tell me what you thought of the clips. Tell me if you have seen Godzilla. What do you think? Do you think that this was a good remake or a good reboot or not? Do you prefer the original Japanese version, which everyone prefers the original, or do you prefer the no, that never happened. But comment below and let me know. Have a good night, guys.